anybody in from Facebook?
Hello, and thank you for stopping by Britain's Hidden History. If you are interested in finding out the version of British history that used to be taught in the schools, that used to be widely accepted, and is known as the authentic history of Britain, then you have come to the right place. Were the Britons descended from Troy? When did the Trojan Wars happen? Are the lost tribes of Israel alive and well and living in Wales? Is it possible to read hieroglyphics using Welsh, using Cymroglyphics? The birth of Western Christianity, did that take place in Britain? Was the Trojan War in Cambridge? The myth of a Roman invasion, and of course, the stories of King Arthur, the historical King Arthur, and there's two of them. We look at the works of Wilson and Blackett, people like Fomenko, Velikovsky, all these different sources, Clemens Beaumont, Anthony Thom, looking at the ancient history of Britain, how the star mounds, how things are laid out by astrological terms, all the way back to ancient Assyria, right up until about the 7th, 8th century, well, up until Norman times, really. And we can even look a bit at the myth of that. So, if this sounds like the sort of thing you're interested in, please join in. Join this rapidly growing community. There are so many people out there researching, coming back with amazing finds, both from the books and from the places. So, Thursday evening, 8 o'clock UK time, there's a show every week, includes interviews with people out there finding things, loads of fun and games. It's a nice light-hearted channel, so please keep it family friendly, be polite to each other. And then most days of the week, almost every day now, there's a video up, a little bite-sized chunk of history for you to think about and the evidence that goes with it. So please welcome aboard, be active, join the chat groups, join the Facebook groups, do the whole thing, get involved, use your grey matter and find out what is going on with this Britain's hidden history.
Oh, I was muted. That's why. Hi and welcome to Britain's Hidden History Live Show. I see another edit coming on. It's part of the course. I've been asking for video contributions, and today we have our first from Richard Johnson, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy. Further on we have interviews with Keith Price about his vision of the Saxon invasion being a campaign rather than one battle, lured to the area by Pencastell, a castle discovered in that particular area of Caerau. And then we have part one of Paul Hartel's interview describing his long support of Britain's hidden history. I hope you enjoyed our new Arnie video, which was called Portsmouth and is from The Dancing Master and is traditionally English. And those in the know will know that Portsmouth was a very big Royal Navy base and still is. And that was like a sailor's hornpipe inspired piece, wasn't it? So yesterday, Angela and Xavi manned a stall selling Britain's Hidden History books at the Glamorgannog Community Fair in Porthcawl. And Angie gave me a message for our supporters. And here's Angie, followed by details of the Glamorgan community.
So here we are today at the Glamorgan Community Fair, selling books for Britain's Hidden History. And here's Angie with a message for us.
Hi, thank you everyone. Thank you for all your support, your love, and your help during this time. We've been through lots of difficulties and things start to get better and better. And thanks for the member coming today to support us. Thank you very much, and I hope you keep supporting our works. It's quite a lot of us. We make a lot of effort trying to continue Welsh Black's works and Ross's research. And we'll keep doing this. And thank you very much. Thank you.
And we can all help by buying the books. Thank you very much, Angie. That was lovely words.
I'm so nervous.
Do you have a website or a Facebook group?
We do have a Facebook group. Glamorgannog.org is the website. If you go to that, it's got all the links from there to all of our various websites.
And do you do YouTube at all?
I don't really do much on YouTube, but I've started doing a few things on there.
You have, have you?
And I have a wife and she's...
Your wife? Lovely.
There's more of the YouTube and all of that. So the videos are on the website.
Yeah, we've got ancient information videos on the website, and I will be uploading them to YouTube now this week, so they'll be on YouTube from next week.
Excellent. Well, don't forget to link them into Britain's Hidden History.
Well, apologies for the editing, Angela, but the background noise was quite loud, wasn't it? So the stop-start effect comes from adding commentary, which I thought might be helpful. And in the true traditions of Britain's Hidden History, and just in case you might think I'm getting good at this, there's no danger of that, is there? Think again. There should be a clip with a description of the Glamorgannog community, but somehow that clip didn't get recorded. I can't think why. Anyway, I met a lovely couple who say they meet with like-minded souls, usually at Caerphilly Social Club, and I think that's every month. But check their website to be sure, which was www.glamorgannog, spelled with a capital G, LAMORGANNWG.org. Now, as I've said every week, everyone is welcome to contribute a video, and we're still asking for new work urgently. Angela or myself will act as liaison to publish them to the Britain's Hidden History YouTube site. If you publish straight to the Facebook group page, let us know that you'd like us also to put your video on the YouTube group channel. We need permission, obviously, for copyright. Just message us by finding us on the BHH Facebook group page under members. If you've got video content or a PowerPoint presentation in your video, we'll hopefully include it in the Sunday show because people like to see imagery. Now, in the news, after a spell in hospital, Alan is now receiving respite care in a nursing home. The care is progressing in Alan's favour, and we wish him a speedy return to better health. Angie says that all the cards and letters sent from well-wishers have been gratefully received and that Alan has read them all. Next week we'll be back with a news item contributed by Bob Morgan, but for today we are going straight into our first video contribution, and this, as said, is from Richard Johnson. Thank you, Richard. Richard's video gives his take on some research he has undertaken on the location for the Battle of Badon in pre-Wilson and Blackett books. Here's the video, which can be found on YouTube under the name Richard Johnson.
The Battle of Badon, a key event in early medieval Britain which repelled Saxon expansion for a generation. Surviving histories from as early as the 9th century describe the Britons as being led by a warrior known as Arthur. Most details of the battle are shrouded in myth and uncertainty, most intriguingly, the location. One popular theory is that the battle was fought in Mynydd Badon in Glamorgan. The spelling and pronunciation are on the face of it a close match. Linguists have, however, dismissed the connection. Gwynedd Opius, for instance, calls it just a superficial similarity. The earliest Welsh records of both names are subtly different too, so generally they are thought to be distinct locations, but these records only appear centuries after the actual event. The Mynydd Badon theory was popularised in the 1980s by Marmite historians Wilson and Blackett, who specifically placed the battle in an area known as Maes Cadlawr, which they translate as Field of the Battle Site. This is acceptable as a translation, in my opinion. Opponents of Wilson and Blackett dismiss this and say that the connection only began with them. So can we find references to this before the 1980s? I wanted to find out, so I went to my local library, found an old history book, and had a look. The book I picked up was from the 1870s and called Hanes Morgannwg by David Morgannwg, also known as David Watkin Jones. As well as being a credible historian, the author was a geologist, a bard, and a successful competitor at the Eisteddfodau, and seems to be generally regarded as a great cultural and literary figure of his day. I must confess that I haven't read the entire book, but references to King Arthur and the Battle of Badon were easy to find. Under the subheading Llangynnwyd, as I expected, the author began discussing the Battle of Badon. Now, the copy of the book that I have is in the Welsh language, so I will translate the text, but I will also read both languages, just so there's no uncertainty about what's being said. Cytuno haneswyr I Arthur ymladd un o'i brif rwydrau mewn lle a elwir Mont Badon ger Carbadon medd rhai. I translate this as historians agree that Arthur fought one of his greatest battles in a place known as Mont Badon near Carbadon, according to some. David Morgannwg goes on, yr un sydd yn anhawdd ei benderfynu yw, pa un, a'i gerbath neu ynte Morgannwg mae'r Mont Badon a sonio haneswyr amdano. I translate this as what's difficult to decide is whether the Mont Badon recorded by historians is located near Bath or in Glamorgan. The author then says, nid yw fod Bath a Badon mor debyg i'w gilydd yn un prawf, mae ger Carbadon Bath yr ymladdwyd y frwydr. Ac o'r tu arall, nas gellir profi hynny, mae fod y fath liaws olion amddiffynfeydd ar fynydd Badon, Llangynnwyd, ar enw'n cyfateb agos yn hollol I Mount Baden yn rhoi ni'r fath o hawl I gredu mai yma yr ymladdwyd prifrwydr y Brenin Arthur. I translate this as Badon and Baden are not so similar as to prove that Badon, Bath, is where the battle was fought. On the other hand, although it can't be proved, the many remains of defences on Mynydd Baden, Llangynoed, and as the name corresponds almost completely to Mount Baden, gives us the right to believe that King Arthur's greatest battle was fought here. Now I know that this author's opinion isn't definitive proof that the battle was fought here, but Dafydd Morgannwg, writing 150 years ago, does clearly articulate a tradition that connects Mynydd Baden with the Battle of Badon. Some modern historians place the battle here too. I found an author that largely supports the Wilson, Blackett and Gilbert interpretation. He places the battle at a bulwarkau hill fort nearby. The ramparts are still clearly visible on this satellite image to this day. The author proposes a 3-day siege by the Saxons. The Britons then broke out of the hill fort on the 3rd day, slaughtering the enemy with the advantage of higher ground. It's interesting that Dafydd Morgannwg compares the cases for placing the battle in Bath or Glamorgan. Bath does have a good case. I think the historians have shown that by the early 6th century, the Saxons had established territories in the south and east of England and were expanding into the west of Britain. It's plausible that a decisive battle was fought here for control of the west of England and the Severn. Geoffrey of Monmouth places the battle in Bath, specifically on Salisbury Hill. Dafydd Morgannwg points out there are similarities in the names. But going back to Mynydd Baden, Wilson and Blackett interpret the places mentioned in Breuddwyd Granabwy as evidence for placing the battle in Glamorgan. It's very interesting and I might cover it in another video. It's also my opinion that Mynydd Baden was an important military target. It lies close to the most passable route across the challenging terrain of Uplands Glamorgan. Controlling this route, which today is known as the Glamorgan Ridgeway, was of great strategic importance. The route runs from Caerphilly to Margam and still shows the remains of ancient defences, many of which were explored by the late great Ross Broadstock as part of his Britain's Hidden History project. I recommend checking this content out if you haven't already done so. The toponymy of the area also records great battles and associations with King Arthur. I've already discussed Maes Cadlawr, but there's Mynwen de Milwyr, the mighty hill fort of Rhys Saeson, Arthur's Butt Hill, Cadair Arthur, Mynydd Baden, and many more. Some other interesting information on King Arthur from Hanes Morgannwg is the author tells us of a historian who believed that King Arthur's final battle was on Mynydd Baden, and that from here his body was transported to Ynys Avalon. Dafydd Morgannwg tells us he didn't agree with this himself, and that every other historian he knew believed that Arthur's final battle was in Camlan, which Dafydd Morgannwg believed was in Camelford in Cornwall in the year 542. It's an interesting interpretation, but probably a bit mixed up. I think that the information from Dafydd Morgannwg overall supports the theory that links King Arthur with Mynydd Baden in Glamorgan. So I'm going to leave it there for now, and maybe I'll come back to this topic again another day.
Thank you, Richard. That was an interesting take, and it's great to see someone taking the time and making the effort to undertake their own research and wasn't listening to his Welsh, Cymraeg. Absolutely beautiful. That really is the most beautiful to hear language when spoken by a native. How wonderful. I particularly liked the reference to the Bulwarkau Hill Fort. It's quite a distance from where the entrenchments are up on Mynydd Baden, but that's a point for further consideration. Hopefully we'll get together with some of the members of Britain's Hidden History and discuss the whole battlefield area. And that Bulwarkau sounds a bit like Rorke's Drift in the film Zulu. If you're going to stay there and stand there and you're going to try to use archery, you're going to need an awful lot of arrows, because when you read novels even about arrows in the 12th, 13th, 14th century, they got through an enormous amount of arrows because their rate of fire was astronomical per minute, like a machine gun in the days of medieval warfare. So next up, we have an interview between myself and Keith Price. Now, Keith also has 4 videos on YouTube, and to find them, search for Keith Price King Arthur, because there are quite a few Keith Prices on YouTube. Keith describes his finding of the importance of Pencastell in Brythonic history, and in particular, culmination of the history of Pencastell at the Battle of Badon. Here's the video. Hello, today I'm talking with Mr. Keith Price, and we're joined with Mr. Paul Hartel from California, USA. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hi, boys. All right.
Welcome, Paul.
Now, the purpose of today's discussion is to hear all about Keith's finding of a massive castle in Wales with the name of Pencastell. My Welsh isn't very good, Keith.
Mine isn't good at all.
First of all, can you tell us a little bit about yourself then, Keith?
I grew up in Croesero, council estate, just on the east side of the castle. I've always known about the castle, but it was a farm. It was called Pencastell Farm, obviously, and but it was my playground. I played rugby on the local rugby field there. It's strange actually, because it's called the Red Field, not because of the blood, but because of the rusty tin shed that goes around it, which is good. But yeah, it's a place I know quite well.
And you give out more blood on that area of ground than any next?
I honestly did. I played on with Glencorrog Rugby Club, one of the oldest clubs in Wales. And I injured my nose many years ago, as you can see, typical rugby nose. And every time I played, I'd have a bang on it and it would bleed. So I always had a red and yellow shirt because the blood would be there. It is great.
So what did you do for a living then, Keith? You had a long career.
I started with the council. I did my trade in the council with Glencorrog Urban. I then did after finishing my apprenticeship, I carried on in college, and I eventually became a site engineer. Now this involved me with setting out building sites and the supervision of construction, mainly on civil engineering. I then got into building side. I was on the Celtic Manor, for example, and the big tower in Swansea. Major construction works, and enjoying it every minute, you know. I eventually finished off in the quality control section, what we call clacker works, which was, as everybody knows, is the quality control of buildings, and was anciently. We used to look after the clerk of the works was in charge of the cathedrals, well, which is where we get it from.
Yeah, right. So how did you discover this castle then? What prompted you to look for it?
Yeah, it's strange. We always knew there was a castle there, but you know, it was you couldn't see a thing there. It was a mass of trees, a wood. So you know, we just went up there. There was no walls or anything, nothing there. But we used to call it the crevices, because the embattlements, which I know now, which were cut out, which went down the mountain, and they're like crevices. Oh, enormous, enormous. And this is the castle itself was built with all the quarries around it. There's got to be about 20 quarries there.
Wow.
And it was enormous.
So where does it feature in the history that you became interested in then?
I first got interested myself when I seen our late friend Ross and Lego, Rob Pierce, on a video where they were saying about the new development being going to be built on the project, on the actual mountain itself. I found this was unacceptable if there was a castle there. So I decided to get in touch with Rob and Ross, and we talked and we got up there and had a look.
So where did this particular castle feature in history?
Well, it ended, I believe, in the year 551 AD. When it started is more of a country because it's before Christ. And when someone says that, you've got to justify it. So I can't give a date.
Right.
But I know that it was built before Christ.
Right.
There is a roadway which goes up over the mountain, and that road was constructed prior to 400 BC.
Wow.
Now, that is because it's the British trackway. It's amazing. It actually joins the castle and three other battlegrounds in a direct line. It goes around and around the mountain. Fantastic.
And one of those battles is the Battle of Badon then, Minute Baden.
Yes,
is
it
that
was
correct?
the second, the middle battle, yes, the middle battle. And yeah, it's the Clinvy Valley. What you had was the Saxons landing in Badon Ferry. They crossed then the Neath River. They set camp at a place called Manethergai, and after a while they fought the first battle with the British. He's not Welsh, he was British.
British, yeah.
And they fought their first battle at a place called Taibach.
Right. So what we're talking about then is the Saxon invasion of 550-51 that was met by Arthur II, King Arthur II.
Yes.
So shall we go to Google Maps and take a look at the topography?
Please.
I'll have to share my screen. Right, so there's the near continent and the British Isles.
Yes.
And we're focusing in on the Severn Estuary. And there's the Severn Estuary.
That's it.
So we're saying that the Saxons crossed over that estuary by boat, obviously,
Yes.
and they landed. So they would have left from this area here. Perhaps they left from Watchet Sands and that area, but they headed
Again,
to Swansea Bay.
it was near there.
Yeah. So
But we're talking, we're talking 100,000.
Yeah, 100,000 soldiers.
Yeah, we're talking, this wasn't a battle. This was a full-scale invasion.
And they chose this route because the opposite side of the estuary, the opposite side of the British Welsh side, had three rivers, didn't it? The Usk, the Wye, and the Severn itself.
It's what you've got to realise is that the protection that the Saxons had to have was the Neath River. So therefore they landed on the Swansea side of the Neath River, which means they were protected from any attacks.
Yep. So
And
where
then
does
once they arrived, then they then went up to the Mynydd y Gair.
so on the Google Maps image there's two estuaries I can see. One is the Towie, is it? Comes into Swansea.
That one is the Towie.
Yeah.
It's the Aberafan Beach. You can
Aberafan
see
Beach.
the Britain Ferry.
Yeah, Britain Ferry.
They landed actually just on the Jersey Marine.
And that's Jersey Marine.
Which is, if you remember, it's the new Swansea College.
Yeah. That's Jersey Marine, is it, where all the university is? So there's the beach there. It's on the left.
You got it.
Looking from this angle, it's on the left bank of the Neath River.
Yeah.
There's Neath, then further up the valley.
That's right.
So we're going a bit closer, and they were the British came across from Ogmore up to we've got Bryn, Maesteg, and in that area there is Mynydd Badon, isn't it?
Right. Well, what you actually got is they crossed the river. So you can see the Baglan Moors.
Yep.
So it just carried. But first of all, there's the Mynydd y Gair, which is up on the top. You can see where the above the M4, right up there, right on top. They parked there. They parked overnight or whatever, for a couple of days, whatever. And they then started coming. Now, if you come, you can see Tai Bach there. See Tai Bach, Port Talbot, Penacai, Tai Bach, Goitra. Come down.
Goitra,
down by there, right by the sea, Come on.
They're close to the sea, yeah. I got Goitra right in the middle of the picture now.
Right, so come to Tai Bach. You're on the left-hand side there. Come on again. Come again.
Oh, there's Tai Bach. I got
it.
Yeah.
That's it. Now that was the battlefield, right? And there was a battlefield just above there, between that there and Goitra. And then there was a lot killed there. There was the Tumalai in the vicinity there. Tumalai being the graves, the mounds. Then the Welsh or the British Army went backwards, and they went up towards Margam Castle.
Margam Castle, yeah, down by here.
And then you can if you pull it over a bit, move it over, yeah. Right. You can see Llangynoed on the right hand side, yeah. You see that?
Llangynoed, that one there.
That is the village of Llangynoed, the nearest village to Baden.
Right.
And
beautiful church there.
Yeah. So yes, a wonderful church.
Yeah. And the Pig Road is by there as well, isn't it?
It's actually named Llangynoed.
Yep.
Which is the Church of Gynoed.
Yep.
It was one of his knights.
Oh, right.
Right.
So Baden is this area here to the left of Llangynoed.
Yeah, well, this is the place. You can see the it's if you go to Llangynoed and then down directly, and that was the battlefield there.
Oh, there.
Yeah, and down further even. So that's right. Go in again. So you can see all around there, right?
Gotcha. So from there then, the Battle of Badon, why were the Saxons there in that particular? Why did they come to Jersey Marine?
I figured this out, and when you're going to attack someplace, you need to have a secure location. The only secure location in that area was Pencastell. It was an enormous castle in Caerau.
Right.
Caerau is Welsh for castle.
Right.
It is the most strategic place in all of Britain.
So a bit like Putin's army.
Attack it.
Yeah, so like Putin's army that went for the jugular and tried to capture Kiev, the Saxons were trying to go into the jugular and trying to capture Pencastell. Is that what you're saying?
Definite. It's
makes sense.
If you're going to take over a country, you don't go from one battle to another battle to another battle. You die. It wouldn't work.
No.
You get a stronghold, and then you enforce it, and that's what you do.
Yep.
It's common sense.
Have I gone in too close?
Right. If you go to your right now, sorry, the other way. The other way.
Wonderful work. You're just, bless you. Fantastic.
All
right. Well,
nice to be introduced.
We'll talk in a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, see you again.
All the best. Have a great presentation here. Okay.
Thank you very much. Take care.
So the Saxons then were aiming for capturing Pencastell, and that, we'll go in closer, is in this area of Avon.
Just below Avon Forest Park, you've got Cummer.
Got it, yeah.
And then you got, so you can go, be careful, you have to be careful when you go in there. Go into Cummer.
Where's Cummer?
But really, we ought to look at the other battle first, is it?
Did we? Yeah, which battle are we looking at?
That would be in Nantyffathlon, which is Maesteg.
Maesteg.
So directly down, see it? The different Caira.
Yeah, Maesteg.
Right.
So after the one or two battles at Baden, we had Taibach, then we had Baden now.
Yeah, we had Baden.
Yeah. And there's another battle now, you're saying?
Yeah, if you look at Caira, now you can see Caira there, can you? Yeah.
Cummer.
Croesero, Caira, Dyffryn. See it? Tesco, Maesteg.
Tesco, I got Maesteg, yeah.
Right. Well, just make that bigger. Make that bigger.
Make Maesteg bigger.
Right. Keep there. Right.
Nantyffathlon, yeah, I can see that now.
Yeah, Nantyffathlon. Well, the battle was there. It's at Nantyffathlon. The battle was just there. On the left of Nantyffathlon, to your left there is exactly where it was.
Just by it.
That's it. That's the battlefield.
Wow. Luckily they haven't built over that.
No, it's a forest, you know. Still a forest, no? And if you pull then down direct, if you pull down on the thing, pull it down. No, it's going up. You pull it down. That's it. Keep going down, direct. Go on down. And there's Caira. And there, right in the middle, see Croesero? You can see the round circle of the that's it. You got it. That's the castle. That's how enormous it was.
Wow. That's amazing.
So it's a straight run from Nantyffathlon.
It is straight up.
Yeah. There's a road that runs along there, and it's called the British Trackway.
British Trackway. Wow.
It's recorded at some place it was 4,000 years old. I think it was older than that.
So that's the castle, where the castle was located. I'll come out of Google Maps now then, and then you can show us.
Well, we stop and I'll get my photographs ready.
So Keith, what are we looking at now then?
Well, this is overlooking the castle, just to the in the centre there. That's the village of Croesero. And what I'll do, I'll run the film and you can see, it'll show you the wonderful views of the area.
Beautiful.
I'll start that now. I'll keep the sound off so you know. So this is a flyover that John Pincher done for us. Brilliant. It's it was a sarcastic remarks on the cairn. This cairn is there. This is called the Glencummer Cairn. It's an ancient monument, but it is protected. I believe for the development, it's going to be protected. So hopefully it'll still be there in a couple of years' time. But this is actually directly on the cairn. You can see the cairn there.
Yep.
That is it. That is it. It's a mound. It's ancient. It's thousands and thousands of years old. Unbelievable.
And you're saying that's where the castle was, is on the mound?
No, the castle's on the right-hand side, up towards up the hill. We'll see that later as we go along. Now you can see this, and you can see this is the British Trackway.
Right.
So across the site, there's the rugby field I played my rugby on.
Well, yeah.
Oh, look, there's a bit of blood there.
Well, if it was yours, it'd be a lot of blood.
This is again the Cummer Cairn, the Glencummer Cairn, and I believe it's one of the major graves in Britain.
Major graves.
Yeah, it's major. Yeah. I'm doing some investigation on this now, and it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's going to be very exciting. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, so it'll fly over now. John did a fly over the castle area, so you can see it. Oh, there's the castle. I mean, if you wanted to build a castle, where would you build it? It's not questionable, is it? It's there. Look. And you can see, look, you can see the mound.
Yep.
And this was fantastic. And that goes down the Avon Valley there to Port Talbot. And that's it.
Beautiful countryside.
It is, and it's unbelievable, you know. And that's why they're building a multi-million-pound development there, Adventure Park.
Well,
I think it'll be a good thing for the valley.
Yeah.
The only thing is to protect the
historical.
Yes, the historic environment. It's got to be protected.
Plenty of jobs, fabulous tourism.
Yes, plenty of
Lovely
jobs.
looking dog there. You have.
It's a lifeline for this valley. I mean, Crusader is it needs it.
Yeah.
The Avon Valley.
Yep. So if we come out of these pictures, then you've got some photographs.
Yes, I'll just go out to this now.
Okay. Yeah. Excellent. So that's a beautiful looking stone, Keith. What is that?
Well, that's found when the machine went through cutting the road out for the new project. That is marble. What is doing up a mountain in Cairo, I don't know.
And squared off as well.
It's a work stone. So obviously it whetted our appetite to find more. And I'll take you through on the next couple and show you something magnificent.
Beautiful.
Right, is that okay?
Yeah, most definitely.
Right, I'll find another one now. But that's marble.
We went backwards.
There's no marble up in Cairo.
No. Marble in Cairo, top of a mountain.
Yeah. I mean, that's marble. That's from Greece. I mean, it's laughable, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, let me go find more now.
What are we looking at here then, Keith?
Well, this is the LiDAR map of the castle. You can see the mounds, and there's a 335 meter diameter ring. I'll just carry on. This is the keep. This obviously was the tower, the palace of the castle. It's plain, it's simple, it's there. So investigation, it definitely needs some archaeology done on it. It's marked up, you can see the cairn on the right hand side, which is the Glencammer cairn, the rugby field just below. And this is Welsh. This is the name of the mountain that it stands on.
It's even named on the map there. Yeah,
sorry?
It's even named on the map.
Yeah, I never found it. It's there. And if you have a look, you can see the red. See the red?
Yeah.
And that is the British trackway. It's all there. Then we got, that's a low one. This is a impression I've got of what the castle might have been looking like in that this is the stone window of the castle, of a castle, but this is actually Llandaff Cathedral, so I cheated a bit there. But I'll take you through. These are the stones that I picked up. I was working with the councillor and Rob, and we picked up the cornice. I picked the cornice up of the stonework walls, and then you have the top of the walls where it hit the roof. That's called the cornice. Now I'll let go in a bit because you can actually see it. I believe it's that piece there. It's the corner piece.
Yeah.
And you can actually see the cutout for the one which will go at 90 degrees to it.
Yep.
And then you can, if you look there, you can see the cutout of the vine. It's fantastic, isn't it?
It's beautiful. Yeah.
Just,
incredibly ornate.
This is found on a mountain in Cairo. That's what you've got to realise.
Yeah.
I've sent this information off to the information is on a few films on my, which you'll show later. I've applied for an application for scheduling the castle because this is the greatest castle in Britain at one time.
Wow.
This shows it even better. And this, if you remember the first corner of the first film picture I showed you.
Yeah, of the window in Llandaff Cathedral.
You can see it's the springing point of the arch. It's there. It's simple. It's there. So there's lots of stones I picked up. And they're very special.
Yeah.
But I'll take you back, if I may, to this. And I come in. See that?
Yep. What is that then?
I think it may be the residue of the comet that hit in 666 in Britain. I think this may be the only stone, masonry stone anyway.
Yeah. What date is that you're putting that to? Is that the 562 comet?
562, sorry.
562. Yeah.
Yes, it's the trouble is I'm working in thousands of years, and
yes, that's right.
1 or 2 don't make a difference to me.
No.
But yes, it's you can see this the coalish. I mean, it could be something else. I don't know. but that's a lot of residue. So yeah, it's very exciting.
So when you're calling it residue, are you saying that it's the dirt from the comet?
Yeah, the radiation.
That is settled into that groove.
It blackened Wales. It blackened it. It was dark for months. It was the Dark Ages. That's why they call it the Dark Ages.
Yeah. Well, we were up one time. I was up on Baden. We were talking to a young fella who'd done a lot of the research. I hadn't really heard of Britain's hidden history. But we told him about the comet of 562, and he said, "Oh, well, over there's a bank that's been exposed, and you can clearly see a layer of charcoal and burnt. It's quite a thick layer of burnt."
Exactly.
Yeah.
The point is, we don't know. It's never been checked. I mean, I do ask myself, why am I doing it?
Yeah.
But someone's got to do it.
Yeah, and that probably reminds you of Zulu when you said, "Go on then."
When the soldier says, "Sarge," all the Zulus running towards him, and he's saying, "Sarge, why yes, Sarge? Why yes?" And he says, "Because we're your boy." And that's the way it is.
So why you, Keith? It's because you're here.
I mean,
yeah, wonderful. This is the area of a small part of Wales where there's massive plans to put a very large theme park. That's correct, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a £100 million project. It's enormous. It's got ski slopes, mountain biking. It's got everything, and hotel and cabins. Brilliant, and we need it.
We need the jobs, don't we? Definitely.
Yes. The only thing is, I want them to be more sympathetic with our historic monuments. That's all.
Yes.
Nothing else. Because you see, I suppose academics don't believe that there was an Arthur. I mean, it's not mechanized. But that's their problem, not mine.
Yeah.
I know he's there. That's the best way to think of it.
Yeah. So basically, nobody is against the development of and the introduction of all this money. We just want the monuments protected.
We approached them. We introduced ourselves. We done everything correct. Unfortunately, there's no communication at all now. I suppose I'm in construction. I've been in construction all my life, and you don't want to do that's when you're building something. You just want to build something, and that's it. But I'm sure the council are sympathetic, and they'll enforce the restrictions, the proper restrictions, so that we can all share in the history.
And what about CADW? What do they say? What did CADW say about this?
Well, I haven't heard anything from them.
You contacted them then, obviously.
I did. I contacted I applied for the castle to be made a scheduled monument, and I've also applied for an application form for making Glyn Camacan on the British Trackway an ancient monument, scheduled
monuments. Yeah. Wonderful work.
Unfortunately, no one's contacted me.
Well, hopefully this.
I didn't expect any contact.
No, well, if they hear the news about this and see how it fits into the history, maybe they will.
We've got lots of things planned. John, Pitcher, Rob, we're carrying out still investigations in the valley. I know we talked about going over to Baden and actually reenact, walk the battlefield itself, explain everything about it. It's never the overall thing.
Yeah.
But, the one thing that we must get in our minds is that this was not one battle. It started in Taibach. It went into Baden, Then he went to Tor Cymru, in that Fathlon. And then they went over, they found the castle demolished, and they went over Irvine. They had a battle in Irvine, and then they went down the Pontypridd Valley, the Canal Valley, and eventually they were massacred when only the kings joined King Arthur at Rousais.
Precise and beautiful. What a wonderful story, Keith, and thank you very much for your presentation. It was really detailed work, amazing discovery you've put together there, collecting it as pieces of jigsaw, as Bob Morgan says. You've added most of the jigsaw, I think, in one go there.
There's plenty more to be opened, I expect. More jigsaws.
Thank you very much for your time.
Like to thank our dear friend Ross, and yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Keith. Beautiful words. Yes, thank you, Keith. I know we'd all like to say thanks for your work. Very much appreciated. So thank you, Keith. Now, to me, your ideas about Baden being part of a larger campaign to fight off a very determined and vast invasion resonates with a ring of probability. And we must arrange a Zoom conference to discuss your research. I'm not sure if the possible comet debris squeezed into the crevices of the masonry could be seen as clearly as I saw it on Zoom, but hopefully we could all see it. And how special is that? It's actually glittered on the Zoom recording. And that's possible evidence of the circa 562 comet devastation. The masonry would already have been lying on the ground, as the castle was purposefully destroyed by Arthur's men and not by the later comet. And so that's how the dirt filled the crevices. There's quite a bit about the Battle of Badon in this contributions for today. And our next guest has photographs from 10 or 20 years ago to show, which was taken at Mynydd Baden as part of his talk. But the Battle of Badon is only a small part of a detailed interview with Paul Hartel. Paul and I have spoken at length about his long support for Britain's hidden history, and I know you'll enjoy his insights, videos and photographs. I've split the interview into 2 parts, and after part 2 has been aired next week, I'll place the whole interview on the YouTube channel as a standalone production. Let's welcome Paul and take a look at part 1. Today I'm speaking with Paul Hartel from Los Angeles, California, about his very long and colourful association with Alan Wilson, Barham Brackett and Britain's hidden history. Welcome, Paul.
Hey, welcome, Paul. It's nice to see you. Very, very happy to see you.
It's a real pleasure to see you too. And can you give us a brief pen picture about yourself?
Sure. Well, my professional background is in the entertainment arts. I'm based in the United States. I'm in Los Angeles. I got my start as an actor on the East Coast. I'm from the East Coast. And I was in New York for a number of years before I moved to Los Angeles. And all those years were devoted to acting. I came out west in the late 90s. And shortly after that, I transitioned behind the camera. And that's been my primary focus, although not exclusively. I still do act. But I primarily am a film and television editor. I spent about 8 years working for NBC. I freelanced for different networks. cable networks, principally working on a lot of like discovery shows. So that's what I principally do now. I'm right in the middle of wrapping out a feature film edit. So I'm in like my last week of that right now. And that's principally what I focus my energy on. But yeah, so that's my story personally.
Well, that's a tremendous pedigree. So how did you get involved with Alan Wilson and Barham Blackett then?
Well, I've always been a King Arthur fan, and ever since I was a child, I read the T.H. White book, and then I read Howard Pyle had over here in the States. I'm sure they published these books in England as well, the UK as well. But like The Boy's King Arthur, I read as a very young boy, and then T.H. White, and then I moved on to Mallory, and then Geoffrey of Monmouth, and then I was reading the Geoffrey Ashe when he was doing his explorations in the 60s. He published a couple books about his excavations at Cadbury, and so I've always been interested in it. And in the early 2000s, I mean, very early 2000s, I was working at NBC. So I was very busy, but I came across a copy of The Holy Kingdom that they wrote with Adrian Gilbert. And my imagination just, caught fire again, and my passion was reignited. And I reached out to them, tracked them down, and got hold of them, and we started emailing back and forth. In those days, they still were active on email.
Yeah.
And I arranged some trips over. My goal was to produce a documentary. So I made trips over. The first couple trips, I just came myself with and just had a small little DV camera at the time. This was, almost 20 years ago now, I guess, really very close to 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I was just filming myself, just shooting whatever little bit, I would grab a few times. I would, put the camera on a tripod or on a wall or something if we were out visiting sites, and try to grab stuff that I knew as an editor I would want to put together into a presentation piece that we would show to the networks.
Yeah.
So this was in the early 2000s. And I know I shared it. It seems like a good time. I know I shared it with Ross in the past, but this might be a good time to share it again. And I will share the screen, and we can watch the trailer for, it's not the greatest quality. We can watch the trailer for what I called Hidden History.
Right.
So it wasn't exclusively Britain's hidden history. It was just the series. This was going to be a series focused exclusively on Britain's hidden history, mostly around the King Arthur myth. I say myth, but I'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah.
But anyway, let me share the screen, and we can share with other members. Desktop.
I think thousands of years ago, people knew what this was. Of course, now we've forgotten it all. Good Lord, it's buried there. Inside that chamber is the Ark of the Covenant.
There's something here.
I'm standing in front of the tree-covered mound of Taurus. Another one of the star maps on the ground.
There's a story about a treasure of a mountain of gold. Is this it?
But that's something else that can be investigated. Yeah, I don't think anyone's really trying to do that.
Hi, I'm Paul Hartel, and I'm in Butte Park at the remains of a Blackfriars cemetery from the Middle Ages that was actually built next to a much older church from the Dark Ages.
Next marks the spot. Bingo, we've got it.
Good. I just want to do something that I hadn't done before. I'm just going to click through this.
Yep.
And talk about a few of the areas. Now, right here, this first part was Alan and I and some others. We had traveled. I couldn't tell you where this is anymore.
Right.
But in the Mabinogi, it talks about some areas on a mountaintop where there's like there's three different I can't even remember now, but in any case, Alan and Barham had found the areas that the map that they were talking about in the Mabinogi, and this is one of the. We didn't really even know what it was. Alan honestly couldn't tell me what it was, except he thought it was astronomical in a way, in the same way that, we've got the three mounds on that represent Orion.
Yep.
On the one mountain. This Alan felt represented something similar. So he took me up there, but he didn't honestly, he couldn't be sure, certainly at that time, what anything was. Now this actually, I'll wait and show you. This, of course, is up on Two in a Glow.
Yeah.
And then this is, and now I'm blanking. We've talked about this before because we've had an opportunity to chat a few times, but this, when we go through the still pictures, we can.
That's down at Ogmore, and we were wondering.
Yeah, that's right. That's at Ogmore, right.
Yeah. And I think it is still there. Looking at photos I took 4 years ago, that was it. So I think that's the copy, isn't it?
Yes, I think that's the replica of the original stone. I don't know what's happened to the original stone. Now, of course, that's Alan Hassel, and I'm having trouble with this monitor now. It's clicking out on me. Let it come back. And then, of course, there's Alan. We were staying at some friend's house in Wales, or we were visiting in any way. But there's Alan and me, and we're going over some maps, talking about where we're going to go. And then, now this is Adrian Gilbert. Now, this is me with Adrian Gilbert, which I shot at a later time, when I came back and I went and saw Adrian and visited Adrian, and we went out, and this is, of course, when at Caermelin with Alan. I've got some still pictures of him on the site. But this little clip is just to show some of the rise. When we go to the still pictures of the site, we'll get a better idea. And this, of course, is near Mathern. This is, I just called it the Well of Souls. I sort of hyped it up for the trailer, but it is the spring where they stopped. I remembered that I had called it the Well of Tears, but I don't know. I guess I changed my mind at some point and changed the name of it. Who knows? It's a little hype. And then this, of course, is in Butte Park.
Yep.
And we've talked about this before, and this is, these are the Dark Age foundations of the original church that the friars built their much bigger monastery next to. This is just, and that's actually Chris Barber. I also visited with Chris Barber, so at a later date as well, and just to get his take, and we walked around. But anyway, so yeah, this was originally where they thought he had been buried, and as we've, it's again with me with Adrian. So and then of course this is another shot of Two in a Glow. I may have been one of the last folks, and then this up here is of course St. Peter's Supermontum. But I may have been one of the last folks to actually be able to wander around on top of the place of worship.
Well, you must have been coming back and forth for a good decade then, by the sound of it.
Yeah, from about I guess from about 2003 to 2013. I think was the last time I went over. The last time I went over, I went with a girlfriend at the time, and she, her family lives near Bristol, so she was, yeah, she was Welsh actually, because she had been born in Merthyr Tydfil, Merthyr, and but her family now lived over just across the border near Bristol, outside of Bristol. And yeah, and we went to visit Ray Howell, who used to be an archaeologist. He's since retired, but at the time, at the time even, he was just retiring. So he'd already been retired for 10 years. I mean, 10 years now, but at the time he had just stepped down. But he used to be at the University of Wales, Newport.
Right.
And he did, I was able to find a King Arthur video that he did.
Oh.
He was involved with. I was able to find that on YouTube.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, maybe he would be a sympathetic ear to the theories of Allen and Barham, because, as you know, it's so hard to find folks who are sympathetic. And in fact, I just this week, it's Wednesday now, right? So I think on Monday, I just watched a new video. It's just been out for a week or two from that channel, Cambrian Chronicles,
right?
About King Arthur, and I think it's called, Who Was King Arthur? And whoever this fellow is that runs this channel, he just basically debunks the entire King Arthur legend, let me call it the King Arthur legend. In other words, his attitude is that the texts that everybody draws from are so questionable,
yeah,
that that we can't know anything for certain about a historical figure. And he alludes to, but does not mention by name, Allen and Barham. And, you know, since Chris Barber also shares the same Arthur and just differs in particulars about, you know, what happened to him and all the rest, he may be alluding to Barber's theories as well, since they both talk about Arthur II being the son of Moirig and everything else. But so without mentioning any of those folks by name, he just sort of takes the standard BBC line that he's a total myth. You know, that most of what we've heard about him in all these 11th and 12th and 13th century stories is just fiction, which is really irritating when you have seen what I've seen, because I can tell you that in my adventures with Allen and Barham, I have seen stuff that would just blow your mind.
Well,
because I know for a fact that proof exists. And, you know, I've always tried to not be as militant as they are, you know, because I saw that it didn't really serve them well, right?
True.
I mean, they provoked and antagonized the very people whose help they needed, and consequently, they got no help at all. But the proof is there, and it's so frustrating. And I've come to think, after now almost, you know, more than 20 years, that, you know, perhaps it's just, I mean, perhaps no one really wants this to come out.
Yeah, I think that's the bottom line. That's right.
The bottom line may be that, you know, the powers that be, whomever they may be, really don't want any of this to be discovered. And you know, I mean, I've thought about this a lot, because I had to think about this when I was pitching my show. And I will tell you that I pitched that show, Hidden History. And, you know, I'll just, let me see if I can.
You can't discount those medieval written histories, because they describe perfectly how Arthur's body was brought up the River Ogre, and the description of the lay of the land there, and then taken to the Cave of Mystery, Coidamuster, and then buried up on the hill. So
now, Paul, actually, you know, you could help me, because Alan never told me where he, what text he got that. Do you know where the text? Because I remember, you know, Alan always made a big point that the burial of Arthur was one of the most prominently chronicled burials in history. But quite honestly, I don't know what text he's been referring to. And we were close, and I was obviously visiting, and we talked. And I mean, I've been to Newcastle. I stayed at their place. So do you happen to know what text it is?
No, I would only be guessing, and I would be guessing at Mallory's Morte Arthur.
No,
It's not
Mallory.
there, is it? Right.
No, because I've read Mallory, and Mallory doesn't, Mallory doesn't talk about the burial at all. So
I'm pretty sure they're talking about two French knights who've retraced the route, and so it must be their record.
yeah, so I think we really need, maybe you can reach out to Bob Morgan, or I don't know who else might be familiar with the texts.
But if we put this live, somebody will mention it in the chat.
Maybe
There's such detailed knowledge of people in the group is amazing.
Yeah, because it would be nice. I've tried to track down what text it might be. I don't know if it's one of the French texts. It's been years.
French. I think it's two French knights who just maybe don't know the names, but describe perfectly the lay of the land, which matches Ogmore, the River Ogre.
And they talk about the body, bringing the body in the skiff, and then it coming up the Enwenny, and then and hiding it in the cave. And they also talk about the burial, because I would be interested to find that. I will say that based on my familiarity with Alan Hassel's work, there might be something to it, but I would like to see those texts. I would like to read those texts myself. And those are texts that I'm still to this day unfamiliar with, because I could never get him to say where exactly he had read that, and that, of course, is the great thing about Adrian's Holy Kingdom, and the unfortunate thing about Allen and Barham's self-published books are they, and Ross was trying in his reprints to correct some of that by at least creating indexes and things like that. But Allen and Barham never bothered with bibliographies or sources or anything like that. And that is probably another reason why their books were just dismissed and discredited, because they never could be bothered to share their sources, so no one could check. No one was able to check, and weren't able to verify that, okay, yeah, this is really there. That's a frustrating thing. But I can tell you that in all my visits over there in the early 2000s, and then again in 2012, 13, that I have seen in the ground, as they say, in the land, both on the maps and, just walking around, I have seen proof positive that there is much more to these legends than just myth.
Yeah.
And the places that we went to see on my first visit was Minith Baden, and this was part of the mountaintop. And as you can see, these are what Alan thought were definitely burial mounds from a battle that took place on this particular slope. Now, I know that David Mosley, Steve Pohl, Bob Morgan, Tim Lewis, and others have since that time been able to expand the Battle of Minith Baden, or Baden. Let's just call it Baden, because it's not just on the mountain, right? It's spread out for miles around, and some of those excellent videos, drone videos that show the, the battle sites the or the potential battle sites, the defenses and everything else are just extraordinary. And that's another reason I would love to get back over, because to this day, the conventional line is that well, there's a number of sites proposed as the historical location of the Battle of Badon, but we can't be sure. And it's always a bunch of bunk, right? Because of you actually have to just go look. If you went and looked, you would see, you could have conclusive proof. So these are some of what Alan Barham considers to be burial mounds on the hill. This is a view from the top of the hill. This is the roadway at the top. And these are the remains of it runs all along the hill. These are the remains of, berms that they put up at the top so that the British would be on this side here, and the Saxons would have been coming up the hill. And so off to the right of the picture here, across the road, further down the fields, are the field is the area that in Welsh, the field has the field name, the Field of the Tents, I believe. Alan told me. So that was where they believe that Arthur encamped, certainly in the night before this particular battle. This is a close-up of some of the remaining defenses at the top of the hill, and you can see the sweeping views out, to the opposite hill on the other side. It's another close-up and angle looking the other way, and you can see people just walk across the top of this here.
The entrenchments.
Yeah, the entrenchments. And of course, they're worn away after 1,500 years. I mean, they're just really like 2 or 3 feet tall. That's all they remain now. But years ago, they must have been at least 5 or 6 feet tall, so that a man could, hide behind it and also just, sweep over.
And they must have had a lot of stakes and things, because that was the Roman way of putting javelins in a triangle, wasn't it? For a march.
Right. It's quite possible. The wood would be all gone by now, of course.
Yeah.
So this is another view back to the right. You can just see the top down here in the corner right of one of the remaining entrenchments.
Yeah.
Again, across the entrenchment out to the opposite hill. And you can't quite see the slope in video. And unfortunately, because this is already, this visit was 20 years ago, almost now. Computers have changed in 20 years. I've had to upgrade. So I have lost the digital copies of my videos, and I haven't yet been able to. These were shot on a little DV cam. And so they're little mini DV tapes. And I have yet to go back, since I realized I couldn't find the original raw video files anymore.
Yeah.
I have yet to go back and locate the tapes, which have been in storage and all the rest of that, and get the machines that I need, which I also just got out of storage last week, to be able to redigitize those tapes.
Yeah.
So that's another view. Go ahead.
I was going to say, what struck me when I visited was that it wasn't as steep, etc., as a lot of places in Wales. But then it couldn't have been, because you'd have to have enticed the invaders up a hill. And if it was ridiculously steep, they just wouldn't go up there, would they?
Right. Now, I mean, we can't tell from this angle, unfortunately, but in the video that I took, which unfortunately I don't have, you can see that this particular spot, which is not when David Mosley, I think, and some of the others went to visit with Ross. I think Ross was part of that visit to the other battle sites that they had located. It was not this hill, because I did not see this hill in any of their drone video or in any of Ross's video. So I don't know why they didn't visit this, but because this is pretty steep. I mean, Ross would have huffed and puffed to climb up if he had climbed up the way the Saxons had climbed up, and probably any of us would. But down at the bottom too, there's some trees with singular burial mounds under them,
right,
that have grown up on the at the bottom. And Alan always argued that he thought those were must have been special people, not to have been buried like in a mass grave, as we see here, right? So
you could probably hit the sheep with a bow and arrow from that embankment that were in the picture.
Oh yeah, there were sheep all around. There were sheep to the left, right of us, and everywhere. They just grazed the whole hill. But I mean, better that sheep are up there than that a farmer is actually plowing.
That's right, yeah. But from the top of that hill, you could probably hit the sheep that were in the photograph. You mean that's how far an arrow would have gone?
Yeah, there was. Hold on, let me see if I can find the one you're referring to. Well, these down here, you mean?
Yeah, that one there. You could probably hit them from that distance.
Maybe that's it. Could be, because photographs are deceptive, and so
as long as you didn't have to be accurate.
Yeah. So anyway, these are some of the shots that I have from Minith Baden, and then this is from when I visited Ogmore, and of course this is the Enwenny, which runs all the way up to St. Peter's, or the tributaries run all the way up there.
I think the main one is the Ogwa, OGWR, and the Ueni joins it just further up.
Okay.
But they both become one there at that point, by the look of it.
Yeah. So, but this is right by the castle.
Yeah, it is right by the castle. Yeah.
Here you have. This is where we went to visit the castle, and as you saw in the video, there's the replica of the Arthmael stone that was found. But this is a replica, and then these are just some beauty shots. But this is, Alan always took great pleasure in recounting the story of the young soldier who rides across the river here and splashes Arthur, and Arthur is very, doesn't get upset at him, and just he loved to tell me that. He said, yeah, Arthur was sitting on his horse and someone came riding over here. But again, I don't, he never said where he heard that. So that was, those are some shots. And of course, this would have been the river that the skiff came up with the body, because also the cave is further up in the hills. The Cwr, the mystery. We'll have to do this again, Okay.
Oh, definitely, my pleasure. Thank you very much for your time and joining us today.
It was a pleasure, Paul.
Cheers. Bye. Thank you, Paul. You made some great points in the video, and your memories, photographs and videos were a pleasure to hear and see. And wait for this. In part 2, we'll be watching a video taken at a possible location for a legendary British mountain of gold. That'll get the metal detectorists excited, I'm sure. Now, Paul made reference to having already spoken with me, and yep, you guessed it, I failed to hit record in our first chat, 2 hours. And did you hear what Paul does for a living? He's a filmmaker and professional film editor. So I said to him on the rerun, what's it like working with an amateur? He didn't seem to mind. Now, the trailer contained music, the trailer for this show contained music from Last of the Mohicans and Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and YouTube didn't like that. And they pulled the trailer. You can't see it. So there's every chance that this live show will also be pulled because of the copyright potential issue with that particular little video. So if it does, we're going to have to put out an edited version excluding the soundtrack. Now, Paul said it was hard to judge the contours around Mynydd Baden from still photographs. So I thought I would add a short video of my own taken on the mountain near some of the entrenchments. And here it is. I hope it contains the incline.
So here we are on Mynydd Baden, site of the Battle of Badon. Saxons would have come over from that direction, from the coast, down by Aberavon. Here was a confluence of roads, and this is Mynydd Baden, where the British forces would have set themselves up down there. That wood. Somebody told us that was Pencastell, wood of the lower battle. Behind it is Pencastell Farm, Battlefield Farm. We're heading back to the car now. And just over there somewhere, the guy told us that after the battle they've made a church, and the ruins of the church, footings of the church from 500 odd AD have disappeared now, but were visible not so long ago, and named on a map. Somewhere up there, Arthur II raised his banners, and on the cross of Jesus raised above the army, the true cross. We're running a little bit over time-wise tonight, so I'll try to make the feedback on the chat as quick as I can. Danny Bryant of Glamorgannog community appreciated Britain's Hidden History support, as we likewise appreciate Glamorgannog community. Dean said that 12 million arrows were used at the Battle of Cressy. Cressy features in a little video I took at Lantris and Guildhall to feature in another episode. Rachel Sheriff and David Mosley and Andrew Whelan thanked Richard and thought his video was excellent. I'm sure we all did. Yeah, keep it up, Richard. We want to see some more from you. Jeff Hunter has pointed out that Mynydd Baden is missing from the newest Ordnance Survey maps. Andrew Whelan says that OS actually means Ordnance Secrecy Maps, a name which Marshall Abrahams likes. Nimble Horse pointed out a possible source for the name Saxons being derived from Isaac's sons, being the rear guard of the 10 lost tribes who ended up in the centre of Europe, having crossed from Rhaetia. Possible. Or maybe from the first Buddha.
Andrew Whelan pointed out that Bwyd da, Buddha, means good life in Cymraeg. Dean Morgan saw his house in the presentation by Keith, living near Cairo, no doubt. Illuminati asks which Wilson and Blackett book charts the Roman Caesars and their British counterparts. I saw that listed somewhere. It's got to be in the ones I've read, which could possibly be the latest reprint by Britain's Hidden History. Arthur, the King Arthur conspiracy, maybe. Dean Morgan said that they found flint arrowheads up at Pencastell, and that shows the incredibly long history of defensive fortifications up there. George Bodley asks if the debris from the crevice of the rock could be analysed. Wouldn't that be a thing? There was a lot of congratulations for Keith and his research, and later for Paul Hartel. Keith has 4 videos of his own on his own YouTube channel, and one is dedicated to the new theme park. You may have seen it in the trailer if you caught the trailer for this show. It's a wonderful little trailer, 2-minute long video, and it's it's in there in a little bit of a sarcastic manner to get past the censors. So take a look at that one on Keith Price's King Arthur YouTube channel. Well worth a watch. Andrew Whelan said about the Arthmile stone at Ogmore being a replica. I think the original is possibly at Margam National Stone Museum, and the translations of both would be interesting. If you ask Paul Hartel, he'll tell you what the translation was, which he did in our first chat. Very interesting. It's about Arthmile granting land to the church after the victory at Baden. Jeff Hunter talks about the mud floods after the circa 562 comet, recently covered by www.paulcook. That'll be interesting to watch. I say circa 562 because there's a lot of angst over the dating. It's definitely 4 years out, whether it was the birth of Jesus the Nazarene, or it could be 33 years out if it's the death versus the birth of Jesu Christ. Note Machinist loved the chat, as we all. Meg W questioned what does Wood of Mystery, and I put it up in the explanation underneath the video, and it's because I said Coed y Muster, translated as Cave of Mystery, where St. Ichtyd resided as a hermit, and where the body of Arthur II was taken up the Ueni River from the Ogmore estuary and laid at rest for a period of time until it was further moved up the hills above Mynydd Agaya by St. Peter's Supermontum. I corrected to my own translation. It's not Cave of Mystery, it's Wood of Mystery, Coed y Muster. And there we have it. There's more chat. I haven't had time to analyse. Thank you all for joining us today, and I hope you enjoyed our time together. Thank you to Angela and the boys, and to all the volunteers working behind the scenes. Here's Arnie again, playing his latest video. Thank you, Arnie. That was a great new video. I'm working on Xavi and Leon to provide some piano renditions. All talented young men, beautiful musicians. But in the meantime, and to continue the chat for a little while longer, to allow people to say their goodbyes, this is some other local talent, local to Rhondda and Taff. You may have heard me promoting his work before, Stephen J. Preston, and this is at his Love Is album launch with the over 25 choir that he used to have supporting him. I was actually singing there too as part of the choir, but as I'm very camera shy, I was off to the right in the room. Stephen has given me permission to use his music videos, and if anyone can supply a music video with permission to use it, that would be great. Check out Stephen's YouTube channel, Stephen J. Preston.
It's called Love Is. As you know, days. I see the world and it seems like it's such a crazy place. Oh, we fight and we cry and we scream through time and space. And the lines that we draw in the sand keep us apart. And the easiest thing that we break is a human heart. Why we always building walls when to live without love makes no sense at all. Because the love is patient, the love is kind, love is open, love is blind. Love don't shame you or isolate. It don't keep score and it don't hate. Love protects you, love is trust. Love is hope for all of us. Love don't judge you or make you bleed. Love is everything we need. Life could be thrown away. Can we close our eyes to a child who comes our way? Is it love if we only care about our own? Is it faith if we run away from the unknown? Why we always building walls when to live without love makes no sense at all? 'Cause love is patient, love is kind. Love is open, love is blind. Love don't shame you or isolate. It don't keep score and it don't hate. Love protects you, love is trust. Love is hope for all of us. Love don't judge you or make you bleed. Love is everything we need. In a world that's ruled by guns and clowns, but love is patient, love is kind, love is open, love is blind. Love don't shame you or isolate. Don't keep score and they don't hate. Love protects you, love is trust. Love is hope for all of us. Love don't judge you or make you bleed. Love is everything we need.
Well, that's all, folks. Thank you very much for joining us today, and it's goodbye, auf Wiedersehen, au revoir, adieu, and nostar. And don't forget, seek and you will find. I think that was Epictetus, maybe the Bible. Somebody pointed out that Paul Cook's YouTube address is @PaulCook432. Worth checking out. We'll try and get Paul Cook to talk with us as one of our contributors, maybe. So there we have it. Just turning off the session in a few moments. So apologies if you're still talking. There we have it, though.
Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed that and found it informative. Britain's Hidden History Group has so much more going on our YouTube channel. The one you're watching now, there's a live stream, 8 o'clock UK time every Sunday. We speak to people like Wilson and Blackett, reprint their old books and help produce new ones. We go researching to the tops of mountains, all the way down to the bottoms of caves. Busily recording the books, you can listen to them as well, and looking at mysteries and working out what we're not being taught in schools and preserving it, because the physical and written evidence is rapidly disappearing. You can also find out how to read ancient writing and hieroglyphs using the Welsh language. It's amazing. There's a Facebook group where this is being discussed. Along with a website, you can buy the books and help us. Also, as you can see, there's now a Patreon page where just a few pounds a month will make all the difference in trying to keep the project going and preserve this history for future generations, and also to find out for ourselves what is going on, what is Britain's hidden history. So until the next time, heddiw!